Glass Hour believes in giving back and giving credit where credit is due. Our number one goal is to make a difference. The music you hear on the Smoking Glass Hour comes from Purple Planet Music. They can be found at www.purple-planet.com. Go check them out.
We can be most effective when we are engaged in the political process, and there's no time like the present. One of our main goals is effective advocacy through active participation from you. Those who stand for nothing will fall for anything. Our efforts to keep you engaged and informed as to the importance of current events happening locally and abroad started 2 years ago. Our number one goal is to make a difference. We need you. Join us at the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass. We are honored to have you as a guest tonight and want to thank each of you for your faithful support. Without further delay, allow me to introduce to you Mr. Baron Glass. Mr. Glass, take it away.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass. On tonight, we will be talking about a subject that was requested that we have a conversation about. And immediately when we were given that information, we took it and we ran with it. So tonight, we will be talking about voter suppression in 2016. I just spoke with Mr. Dave Lamont about 10 or so minutes ago, and he's at a DNC meeting tonight, so I'm not sure if Dave is going to be able to join us. I haven't spoken with Aaron today, but those guys know that they can join at any point in time. But we do have one of our other guests that's out there that's been co-hosting for the last couple of weeks and been doing a wonderful job. Aaron Hopkins is in. I see Miss Nikki Bedrick. How you doing tonight? I know you probably been busy today, but tell us how you doing.
I'm fine, Baron. How are you?
I'm doing fine, Mr. Aaron Hopkins, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good, Baron. How about yourself?
I'm doing fine. You know, Aaron, every time you turn on the television, every time you look at mainstream media, broadcasting, there's always something about people having a problem going out there and voting. And I know we're going to be joined tonight by one of our callers from the other night, and I asked him to call in because I wanted to talk specifically about how frustrating it is that you go and do your time, you get off of probation, and you still cannot vote because you have a convicted felon record. So we're going to talk a little bit about a lot of things tonight, and we're going to try to do it in a way that we talk about the voter registration impediments, the photo ID laws, the purging voter rolls, the felon disenfranchisement that I just talked about, the disinformation about voting procedures, the inequality on election day, the partisan election administration, the Jim Crow laws. I mean, every time you turn around in this place we call America that's supposed to be free, we're always looking at things that take away. So when we look at voter suppression in the United States, we know that it includes various techniques. Those techniques can be legal and non-legal. They are used to deny eligible voters, such as yourself, the ability to exercise their right to vote. Voter suppressions, however, they vary by state, local governments, precincts, and election. So let's kick this thing off because we know that people of color, Aaron, and women have always had to face voter suppression, voter disenfranchisement, and not even having the right to vote. So, Aaron Hopkins, let's talk about these most recent. I don't know if Dave Lamont is out there screens from the center. Let me see. Dave Lamont, are you out there?
Yes, I am. Hopefully you can hear me okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thanks for calling in, Dave. Aaron, let's talk about these photo ID laws. Now, Let's look at a college student who stays in Louisiana, but they are going to college in, let's say, Nevada, let's say Texas or Colorado. So when they go and try to vote because they don't have an ID that reflect the place where they're actually staying at, which might be a college campus, they have the opportunity of being denied the right to vote. Aaron Hopkins, tell me how important. I just did a show, a live video on Periscope, and there was a lady who said that they don't vote. So I tried to stress, go and ask your grandmother who may be 67 to 80 years old how they had to face German shepherds biting them, fire hose spraying them down, being beaten with batons, knowing everything that they should have known, and still went to the voting polls and told them you were not qualified to vote. Talk to me, Aaron Hopkins.
Well, Baron, my take on it is kind of, I'm not going to say that I discourage any voters, but what I try to also put along with the fact that we should vote is what are we supposed to expect after we vote. And I think that's one of the things, and a good example is after the first election of President Obama, I think a lot of people took the attitude or the stance that we had done enough, that, now that President Obama's in the White House, that's all we need, and that we can sit back and watch him work. Well, unfortunately, regardless of whether it was President Obama or anybody, that's not a realistic outlook on what we should expect to happen after the fact. Mm-hmm. And mentioning having people who are doing what they should do in order to be able to cast a vote and still be denied, it's a question that the government itself and people in America should really take a step back and ask the question. The best question to me is always why. Mm-hmm. Because, it's one thing to follow, candidates and their policies and what they, say that they would like to be able to accomplish if they reach, an election, whatever candidate it might be. But the flip side of it is, is it realistic to have, your expectations pretty much not even accounted for or acknowledged, in the process of helping whatever candidate a person chooses to get there. So I can imagine what a student would feel like going through, all of the stipulations to vote, regardless of whether they live in the state that they're voting in or not. We know what they're going through just to be recognized as a young adult, and we know that if they're registered on the college campus, that in itself should justify them being able to vote. Mm-hmm. Okay, Nikki, let's come to you, because I know probably by now anything that appears to walk over an innocent young person, that in essence in itself allows your blood to start boiling. Let's talk about what Aaron just talked about, and the photo ID laws when it comes to voter suppression. Tell us how that makes you feel, and why in 2016 are we still dealing with the same old identity crisis that America had back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s leading on up to 2016. Nikki Benton.
Baron, it's so apparent to me. I mean, this photo ID. First of all, there's about 12% of Americans that don't have a photo ID. Photo ID is your driver's license. Okay? Where are those residents? They're in their cities. You don't need a car in the inner city. Okay? You're Latino. Those 12% really constitute minorities again. And then we can get into the 2 million felons that can't vote. But also this new photo ID I'm reading as we speak, it's going to be an expensive piece of paper. Mm-hmm. Okay? They're calling it the National Real ID. It's going to be a very expensive little piece of paper. I mean, it's going to cost people about $100 to get this. Mm-hmm. And why would I go get spend $100 I don't have, and I don't have a car to go get this? I also read a comment from a Latino woman in Arizona, and this is just this recent caucus with Bernie, and she and her Latino community were really, really excited to vote. They wanted to vote for Bernie, and the polling stations were so far away, and the lines so long. And if you're usually a Latino woman in America, you're working.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get 5 hours. You don't get 6 hours. Whether intentionally or not, but I tend to think everything is intentional. This is directed at minorities all over again, all over again.
Right.
And then Aaron's point, the why when we elect people, if you don't have a voice, if you can't use your voice, well, nothing's going to change. There's no hope for anything to change if you cannot use your voice. And I think so many Black, Latino, minorities, marginalized don't have a voice. And it's being made so difficult to have a voice, like it's always been.
Mm-hmm. Dave Lamont, I know you just messaged me. I want to give you the opportunity to speak. Are you out there, Dave?
I am.
Okay. All right. Talk to us, Dave, about this voter suppression that we're talking about right now.
Well, first off, I'd like to say that I've read the Constitution a few times. I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I didn't read anything in the Constitution that says that if you're a felon, if you're an immigrant, or anything like that, that you're not allowed to vote, or that you need some sort of ID to vote. No. The right to vote is a right to vote. And I take the libertine stance that I think even people in prison should be legally allowed to vote.
Mm-hmm.
So these efforts, we know, are directed at disadvantaged people who have been, there are states where if you were convicted of a felony, you never get to vote again. And that's just wrong. That's unconstitutional. It's demeaning human rights. You've done your time. You should be able to vote.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel that these voter suppression efforts, not only do they directly impact minorities, but I think they affect us all.
Mm-hmm.
Because no longer are we a general electorate. We are a privileged electorate. We are going back to the old days of white privilege and minority suppression. And I just find it detestable.
Mm-hmm.
Particularly the idea that it's a problem, that it's a solution to a problem that doesn't exist.
Dave,
that's my take on it.
Yeah, you just took it just a little deeper than what we started out in. The Constitution absolutely says nothing about photo IDs and all of those other things. But here's my problem. America says that they want to move forward, okay? But how can you move forward when the policies that you are enacting and you're thinking is still the same as it was back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s? I'm going to bring up caller 1756, who knows exactly what we're talking about when it comes to the convicted felon and not having the opportunity to go out and cast his vote. He's paid his debt to society, has done everything what was required of him by the law, and still is punished. Cannot go out and exercise his vote. Caller 1756, come in.
Hey, how you doing, Barry?
How you doing? Tell us how frustrating it is, even just on the local level, for your city council, for your police juror, for your local mayor, for your local judge. You cannot participate in that process other than by just talking. And like you stated so eloquently the last Thursday night, that most people, in your opinion, they don't want to hear anything you have to say because they consider you as a nobody. However, we want to make sure that you understand that not only are you somebody, your word matters just as much as ours. Talk to us, caller 1756.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's real. It is really, really frustrating. To not have a voice on nothing in this society today. To no longer exist as a human being. To to have to, sit back and look at the polls and, the different elections and things and see the way it's going and not be able to put your input in no shape, form, or fashion to make a difference one way or the other. If it took one vote, to sway the thing one way or the other, I couldn't help because I'm a convicted felon.
Okay, how does that? How does? I know it's frustrating, but let's say you were just on the outside looking in. You were sitting here listening to myself, Nikki, Aaron, and Dave talking, and you didn't know anything about us. And how frustrating is that? You like, wow, man, because I've done this thing, I've paid my debts. I cannot even participate in the conversation other than just by talking. How does that make? It's got to be beyond frustrating. It's got to be beyond just a simple situation where a person cannot do this or cannot do that. Because I want to make sure that people get an understanding that live in their glass houses and throw the stone, that they understand they're not hearing it from me. They're not hearing it from Nikki. They're not hearing it from Aaron. They're not hearing it from Dave. They're hearing it from the horse's mouth.
Exactly. To put it in a descriptive form, it's sort of like sitting in the mix of something, and everyone is sharing in a topic of conversation. And you're sitting there, you know that you're visible, you know that everyone can see you, but no one there can hear you. And you're trying to, voice your opinion. You're trying, to make a difference. You're trying to say, different things and partake in different parts of the conversation, and everybody just talking as if though you don't exist. That is the hurting part of it all. It's like I don't exist out here anymore. The only way I'm really dead to society, except for when I do have a piece of job, they take my taxes. Other than that, I don't exist out here.
Now let me ask you this, and this is just because I want to be as graphic as possible. Does that make you feel similar to a slave when you're just being used only for when you need it?
Yes. Most definitely, Barry. Most definitely.
And Nikki.
Exactly. That is a great way to put it.
Nikki, let me let you come in because I know that this is because Nikki wrote a piece today in the blog. And it's just I can't go any deeper than that. But let me bring Nikki in. Nikki, go ahead.
Hi Therese, how are you? There was something that Aaron said last week that really just so struck home, and he defined the word legacy and what it meant. And we were talking about President Obama and the disrespect. And a man's legacy is basically his life, the things he's done, and his accomplishments. So it doesn't really matter. And the meeting, or David talked about the meeting early when President Obama was elected, and the Republicans, the words they used, were going to deny him his legacy. And basically that means deny he existed. One of the reasons one of the words I keep reading in Michelle Crow is disappeared. The man gets incarcerated, he's disappeared. He's just disappeared.
Okay.
He comes back out from prison. He's disappeared again. He's disappeared.
Hey, Nikki, hold on 1 second. We got somebody out there that's live, that's talking. You can continue to talk if you mute your line, but if you don't mute your line and you talk, you're coming through the broadcast. So we want to be respectful to each individual person. Make sure that everybody is heard loud and clear. Go ahead, Nikki.
Take the caller, Baron. Take the caller. I just, this idea of being in society and being a non-person it's inhuman. It's inhuman. How is that is what's happening when men are being released from incarceration. How is one supposed to live? They are disappeared. They're disappeared when they're in, and they're disappeared when they're out.
So we just got a message sent, and this is directed at the caller. The government can take this man's taxes, but he can't vote. When we look at how this thing is playing out, I'm not understanding this, and it really infuriates me, because it seems as if there is a cross section of this country that still feels that if not a poll tax, something similar to a poll tax, such as maybe photo ID laws, or all of these purging voters from the roll if they don't go out and vote. These Jim Crow laws, which talked about voter suppression, was used extensively, mostly in southern states until the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Now, even in 2016, we still have to struggle and try to defend the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which dealt with voter disenfranchisement. Aaron Hopkins, talk to us about the Jim Crow laws then in the 60s versus the Jim Crow laws in a different format, in a different fashion in 2016.
Well, one thing, and Nikki just actually mentioned it, bottom line to me, these types of laws and the way they're executed are specifically saying one thing, and that is that this particular people who are deemed minorities or what have you should not even have a say-so, nor should they be acknowledged in any form or fashion, and especially when it comes to government affairs and things of that nature. Well, one thing I just realized as I was reading some information, there are several states that felons, after they lose their freedom or incarcerated, can lose their right to vote permanently.
Mm-hmm, correct.
I don't know if you knew this.
Yeah, correct. Mm-hmm.
I think it's on that list: Tennessee, Virginia, Wyoming.
Mm-hmm.
That's baffling to me. So, like you were stating earlier, Baron, so if a person fulfills their term of incarceration and they come back, and we already have discussed and we know it's not necessarily coming out rehabilitated, but the fact still remains that if they complete their time incarcerated and they come out,
right,
what reason should not they be able?
Right, exactly. And Nikki, here's the what would I call? Here's the roadmap. Okay, the roadmap to me consists of this: you enact or create laws that are specifically targeted against a group of people. That group of people, known as the minority, ends up being the majority in prison. Okay, and the majority that's in prison, that's the minority out on the streets. When they get out, they can no longer vote. Okay, so it seems to me that this is something that has been orchestrated. It's been well orchestrated. It has been successful thus far. What is it that the Smoking Glass Hour and all these other people that's out there listening, that's calling in, that's texting, or whatever the case may be, what is it that they can do other than becoming directly involved in a situation? What is it they can do to make this thing less of a problem? Because we know if this is still happening in 2016, I mean, we're talking about 50 or 60 years later, we're still fighting the same battle, just in a different format. What do you think, Nikki?
I was just looking right now. I got this report, People for the American Way, and I saw that in Texas, Congressman John Carter has suggested implementing literary tests, an English-only ballot, despite the existence of a federal law requiring minority language ballots at the polls. Mm-hmm. Jeb Bush was forced to deactivate a list of purported felons who would be blocked from voting when the news media discovered that the list included black but not Hispanic voters, and that many of the people on the list were actually eligible voters. This report kind of indicates right in the beginning, and it says, however, voter suppression today is overwhelmingly achieved through regulatory, legislative, and administrative means, mm-hmm. resulting in modern-day equivalents of poll taxes and literary tests that kept black voters from the ballot box during the Jim Crow era. So I mean, this is happening at local and state level.
Correct.
I mean, you know, when Davis told, there's nothing in the Constitution anywhere that mandates this or so this is happening. And to me, as I'm looking up at the list of states, as I'm looking over the list of states, it's the southern states, it's the middle states. You know, it's the states that we would expect that really hold. You know, the old Jim Crow states are really, you know, the toughest in this thing. But I think what can we do? Again, I mean, there are states that a felon can be reinstated to vote. But the process is so difficult, always requiring money. I mean, all of these things are requiring money. The photo ID, you know, and $100 or $50. You know, most low-income families do not have. You know, what to be done? I mean, the thing to be done is we all have to push at some kind of grassroots level. But where do you start, Baron? Where do you start? How does voter ID laws go into place? Who is going to fund that for the 12% that need the voter ID?
Right.
I mean, it's like they get them on this mouse wheel, you know?
Right. Nikki, let's look at this exactly with what you're talking about. Not meaning to cut you off, just add to. In 2004, 5.3 million Americans were denied the right to vote because of previous felony conviction. 13 states permanently disenfranchised convicted felons. 18 states restored voting rights after completion of prison, parole, and probation. 4 states re-enfranchised felons after they have been released from prison and have completed parole. 13 states allow felons who have been released from prison to vote, and 2 states do not disenfranchise felons at all. Some states require felons to complete a process to restore voting rights, but offender advocates say such process, like you just said, can be very difficult. Now, the United States is the only democracy in the world that regularly bans large number of felons from voting after they have discharged their sentences. Many countries, including, here we are, Denmark, France, Germany, Israel, Japan, Kenya, Norway, Peru, Sweden, and Zimbabwe, allow prisoners to vote unless convicted of a crime against the electoral system. Now, the electoral system, we have politicians who are, I'm not understanding, we have politicians who are committing crimes against the electoral process. Finish your comment, Nikki.
I'm laughing as you said. You know, I did some research too last night on, you know, what in the, you know, America, when we say the civilized world, it's the Western, you know, the comparison is always Europe because they're comparable countries. You know, and I looked for instances of what we call voter fraud that are going on right now. I didn't find any. I looked at how they're incarcerated or treated after they. You know, there's this idea that you have done the time. You have done the time, so your life is restored to you. Whatever your crime is, you've paid for it, and you go back into society. And there's none of these punitive actions.
Right.
There's none of these punitive actions.
Well,
you know, this America is this. I mean, how we can truly call ourselves the most democratic nation in the world, it behooves me.
Well,
but compared to comparable countries, we're not.
Right. I believe we have a caller out there. I'm going to bring it in from Arizona. Arizona, let me read the comment. In Arizona and many areas, they have also had last-minute redistricting to lock out the poor and ethnic communities and limiting of polling places. Today, Arizona held a public hearing over the suppression there. The room was overfull, and there were a lot of super angry people. I admire them for standing up, but have to wonder if they will be able to get anything done to rectify this last-minute voting session. Come on in, caller from Arizona.
Hey, Baron.
How you doing?
This is actually Deb. I'm doing just fine. How are you doing?
Talk to us specifically about the suppression, because Deb is the one who, through Twitter, suggested that we talk about something like this. And see, we are all inclusive. We don't exclude anywhere on this broadcast. So talk to us, Deb.
Yeah, and I'm actually in Missouri. I'm not in Arizona.
Okay.
I'm on vacation this week. So
Okay.
I've been following the Arizona suppression issues really closely. And I watched the hearings online today, and it was ridiculous. They had 30 people testify over this. I personally have always felt that as far as felony crimes go, that once somebody's done their time, that they should be allowed to vote again. It only makes sense. They paid their debt to society, and those rights should be instated. Now they're starting to cut in to everyone else's rights, too. They're redistricting to limit voting, to eliminate voting for poor communities, for more isolated communities, for ethnic communities. And there was a lot during this time of the 30 people that testified. They had many of them that had already changed their affiliation, party affiliation. They had pre-registered, and all of a sudden their registrations were going from Democratic to Independent, and they're getting up there and they're not allowed to vote. They're given provisional ballots. They've been told that the provisional ballots won't even count. I want to know, first of all, how is that legal, and why isn't this being broadcast by major stations? The only thing I found so far is broadcasting it is online stations and newspapers and things, alternative stations and newspapers. And why are people not around the country not more outraged about this? Yelling. I mean, we've had some in Missouri, too. I've got a couple of Missouri Bernie pages, and I've got some followers that were college students. They were turned away from the polls for various just silly things, just ass-to-wall things that made no sense.
Hey, Deb, one of these things that I think needs to happen. Yeah, one of these things I think need to happen is a lot of us need to become involved with the ACLU and all of these civil liberty groups that are out there that fight and defend for people's civil rights, afforded to them by the Constitution. And I think that's at least a start, because when you look at manpower, they are basically outnumbered, because the politician is doing whatever he or she can do to make sure that people cannot vote. I'm going to bring Aaron Hopkins back in. Aaron, are you out there? You heard what Deb said that's happening out in Missouri. Any feedback or comment? I'm not sure if Dave Lamont is still out there. I know Nick is, but Aaron Hopkins.
Yes, I'm glad that she came on and stated what she did. One of the things I'm also finding out there, and that's very interesting to me, there are some states that have actually in writing in their particular state constitution that the only thing that a person should lose their voting rights for, not including incarceration, because it actually has nothing to do with that. It says voter fraud. Now, this is I want to read this exactly as it states. In Vermont, 1793, they have a portion of their constitution that speaks to a person losing their right to vote is only based on voter fraud. If they're convicted of voter fraud, it says Vermont's 1973 Constitution stipulates that residents can lose their right to vote only if convicted of voter fraud. So the Republicans such as New Jersey's Governor Chris Christie, who have already scoffed at Clinton's voter expansion proposal for fear that it would create voter fraud and would inevitably derive the expansion of voting rights to felons and inmates, the state of Vermont successfully handled this issue more than 2 centuries ago. Now, to me, this points out exactly why there's this outcry about voter fraud. It has nothing to do with what they're saying it. It has to do. But now, here again, I don't think it's a coincidence because we're talking about Vermont with this particular Constitution, knowing that Senator Sanders is from there. And also, he has mentioned several different times when questioned about the rights of convicted felons. And we've all stated it already, there's nothing that says that a person should not have their rights restored upon immediate release. And also, as I'm reading, what I'm seeing is many states get into what's called the backlog of finding out, what was the release date of some of the those that are coming out. So there's all these excuses of the reasons why people don't have their voting rights restored if they've been incarcerated, but they never should have been taken away from the first, again, based on what this is stating.
Okay.
So,
Aaron, let me ask this, because this is real on my mind. I want Deb, I want Nikki, I want Dave, all of you guys to participate. We're talking about voter disenfranchisement or the voter suppression 2016. Let me be just as specific as I can. Do we feel that in 2016, since Bernie Sanders is running, that its own Democratic Party is trying to voter suppress as well? I'm going to start, whoever want to jump in after you, Aaron, they can jump in. But I'm just asking a hard question. Are we talking about our own party doing voter disenfranchisement or voter suppression because they want Hillary to be the so-called nominee because Bernie is burning that ass right quick?
Barry, I would say absolutely. Absolutely, that's the case. And for more reasons than probably are apparent, I'm going to go back to the corporate stance or the corporate take on the Clintons. So we've painted the picture in the last couple of weeks again of why, and remember we like to ask the question why. Why Hillary Clinton over Bernie Sanders? It can't simply be based on policy, because we've heard several accounts, and with the gentleman who was on the line last week and who's on tonight, if in fact people have taken and are still accepting money in the form of profit from the prison industrial complex, then we can only stand, it stands a reason that they would totally back this particular candidate for president if she was if she was one of the ones that helped put them in the position that they're in now. To gain a heavy-duty amount of money based on prison as it's currently set up. So the voting rights are just a portion of what is going on, along with, like the gentleman who was on who said, okay, the voting part is one issue, but then what about having your rights to not be marginalized when you're looking for employment? So you have on one hand, here you are, you want to cast a vote, you're denied that. On the second hand, here you are, you want to be able to earn a respectable living so that you don't return to the thing that put you in prison, you're denied there. So, of course, we have to just be honest and say, yes, the Democratic Party is involved in voter disenfranchisement right now as we speak.
Okay, Nikki, Dave, any of you guys just jump in.
I'd like to play the devil's advocate on it. I don't think that the DNC is directly trying to suppress the vote, particularly as the Democrat Party. I think they are trying to persuade people, and they're tipping the scale in favor of Hillary Clinton. But I don't think that they're engaging in any kind of shenanigans. I think the problem in Arizona, which is the recent headline, I believe that we're going to find that out as being something involving either the Attorney General's office or whatever body runs elections in Arizona. And I don't think that it's direct involvement of the DNC. If someone can point out some evidence that could prove me wrong, I'd appreciate it. I'd be willing to change my mind on it. I will put more faith in the Democrats.
Okay, go ahead, Nikki.
I've got something to throw in there. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Nikki.
Baron, I did so the voter suppression in Arizona. So the Maricopa County's top elections official, her name is Helen Purcell. She's the recorder. And so I looked her up, and she's an elected Republican. She's been in office since 1988. Okay? So now, and she's the one that cut the number of polling places. Okay? for the presidential primary, let me just see, from two, he cut the polling stations from 200 to 60 on Tuesday. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So in 212, there were 200 polling stations. On Tuesday, there were 60, although those were larger. Okay, so the voting centers were a little larger. But during the last high turnout presidential primary in 2008, there were 400 polling places in the county of 4 million residents. So this woman cut the polling stations from 400 in 2008 to 60 polling stations. Okay, as I guess I read that the Democratic Party is considering filing suit, and this woman said, he's admitted that she may have made a mistake. But how can you be in office from 1988, and you've been doing it since 1988? You've been an official in that office, and figure that, 2008 you needed 400 polling stations, and last Tuesday you had 60.
Right. Sounds kind of fishy.
And the polling stations in the poor Latino neighborhood were closed at 7 o'clock. Many people stood in line for hours and got to the polling stations, and they closed them at 7 o'clock.
There were actually many of those places that didn't even have polling places.
Uh-huh.
They didn't even set up polling places in those or within those communities. And I believe it was Dave that was speaking a while ago. This is Debbie again. Another thing that happened, though, is not just we were talking about, they had the under-provisioning, and I don't think it's just the Republicans. I mean, I agree. We had a Republican force running elections this year in Arizona, but there was also early mail-in ballots. And those early mail-in ballots are directed to people over 50. And knowing that was going to be the populace that was going to be sending in those ballots, they still called those polls at 1%, knowing that they have thousands of people in line. I believe that the state had something to do with that. I also believe that there was some DNC work behind that. I think it was a brilliantly organized attempt to suppress it.
Well, I'll tell you, Deb, the reason why I join and co-sign with what you're saying, because it has already been proven that Debbie Wasserman Schultz has already tried to tilt the scale specifically for Hillary Clinton. So any backlash that they are receiving right now is because of something that they've done. Remember, there's always a cause and effect. And I understand what my good buddy screen from the center, Dave Lamont, is saying. And I like the fact that Dave tries to be very objective, very open-minded, and I respect that. My position is that, I want to place the blame to whomever. I don't care if it's in a Democratic Party, if it's in a Republican Party, or if it's in, Live Rabbit Australia Party. The point is that we need to start talking about right versus right and wrong versus wrong. It doesn't matter where it's coming from, because we know that people are actually losing the opportunity. We know that people are becoming frustrated. We know that when you look at all of these partisan election administrators, let's look at this one. While the majority of the world democracy use independent agents to manage elections, guess what? 33 of 50 state election directors in the United States are elected partisans. Those party affiliates can create conflicts of interest, or at least the appearance thereof, while directing elections. Check this out. Florida Secretary of State Katherine Harris served as state co-chair of the Bush-Cheney campaign during the 2000 presidential election, and Ohio Secretary of State Ken Blackwell served as his state Bush-Cheney co-chair during the 2004 presidential election. And guess what happened? So we know that partisan election administrations are causing problems. And the question is, until we get these mouths and these people out there on the battlefield and enlightening them and allowing them to understand that your vote is very, very important. It disheartens me all the time when I hear young, and I'm going to be specific, young African Americans, Aaron Hopkins, that tell me that they're not going to go vote. They don't have no desire to vote. Voting does no good. When you look back just 50 or 60 years ago, you had water hoses spraying people down. You had German Shepherds biting people up and down. You had John Lewis and all those guys being beat over the top of the head. You had people that were smart as smart could be and still was not able to pass the litmus test to go out and vote. So, Aaron, tell me why this should not make all of us upset, mad, PO'd, or whatever the case may be, to try to energize people as to why they should go out and stop voter suppression by getting involved in the political process.
Well, Barry, you know what? I talked to some of those same young people that you're speaking of, and I do the same thing as I suggested earlier. Because before we get angry at them, even though some of it is warranted, we have to ask them the same question. Why do you not want to participate in voting? So, and in that, you'll find they have some very, very valid reasoning behind that. One of which is what some of the things that I speak to as well. After we vote certain people in office, even if, during their campaign, they say things that we, in fact, think we should hear and that we should back. And that's the case in most arenas where, specifically with Senator Sanders. Senator Sanders, in my mind and in many's mind, is actually more of a decent person than he is a politician. Mm-hmm. And I think at that point, that's where a lot of times you see these things rise up, like what's going on in Arizona, where they are doing what you said earlier, Barry, and in my mind it's very clear. They are absolutely trying to sway the vote into Hillary Clinton's direction. Mm-hmm. So that here again, here's another situation. We need to ask the question, why? Is it something that she's going to bring to the table? Is it something she's going to do for the mass, for the masses of America, that the things we're discussing now will go away after the fact? I doubt that. I don't think she really is going to do things that is going to change the conditions for the communities of America that are specifically called minority communities.
Right. So Deb, let me ask you this. You indicated that you were so ticked off about everything that has gone on in this particular cycle. Are you so ticked off to where it discourages you from wanting to be a part of, or are you ticked off so much to where you're just so energized and you want to continue to fight? Because, see, we need to try, like Aaron just kind of insinuated, that we need to understand what other people are thinking and how we can go about, matching up their thought process with ours. The question is why. What is it that you're thinking now, and how can we conjoin what you're thinking with what other people are thinking, so we can kind of get this revolution live, keep it live, and continue to fight the cause, even if Senator Sanders should not prevail? Because we know now that I just read somewhere moments ago that Hillary Clinton is now saying that because Bernie Sanders wants to debate her in New York, it's a political stunt. Talk to me, Deb.
Oh, have I got a lot to think about that. Well, first of all, to answer the first part of your question, in the beginning, when I started seeing all this happening in the earlier states, even in Ohio, I think there was a young group of people that went up against the judicial system and filed a court case in which the 17-year-olds that were going to be 18 before the general election, they filed a case to get those voting rights to where they could vote the primary. They won. Prior to hearing about that, I was really being discouraged. I was really thinking, like, this is so ridiculous what I'm saying, that I may not vote again. And I'm a 53-year-old woman that's been voting since she was 18 on every single little ballot ever put out there.
Hey, Deb, let me back you up. We got just a little feedback out there on the line, but I want you to start back over, Deb, if you can, somewhere in the middle. You've been voting since you were 18, 53 years old now, and because of all of these things that are going on, it is getting to the point where it discourages you. Tell us that again. We're hearing a little feedback. We may have to mute some of the lines, but Deb, because I want to make sure that people understand how important this is. Go ahead.
Okay, what I was saying was that in the beginning I was disenfranchised. You know, I was becoming disenfranchised. I'm 53. I started voting when I was 18 on every teeny little issue that ever came across. And then I heard about a group of young people in Ohio that went out and they filed a suit against the state to allow 17-year-olds to vote the primary as long as they were going to be 18 before the general election.
Mm-hmm.
They won. They won that suit. And then, again, I was kind of been watching everything, and some of the oddities that have been happening through all the states. And again, I was like, are we really going to be able to fight this? And right now, I'm at the point that I'm so ticked off that I've actually, well, of course, I've been involved with the Sanders campaign anyway, but we have actually formed a group now in mid-Missouri to start battling this. We're finding people that we can get into our House, you know, to the House and Senate here in Missouri. We're hunting people down. We're big volunteers.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought about running in my district, although I don't think I'm prepared yet.
Well, let me stop you there, because see, this is where I get excited at. I love to hear people say that they thought about running. Let me ask you this: what disqualifies you to make you not want to run? Because from what I'm listening to, you're just as qualified as anybody else that's out there. And my goal now is to encourage you and not discourage you, because I would love to see you get out there and run, because that's what I did back in 1993. I decided that nobody could defend for my kid better than I, so I ran, was successful, and been successful. So my goal is right now is to encourage you. So why would you think that you're not qualified or ready for that particular position? Just talk to me.
Well, to be honest, I've been involved, and, you know, I always do my homework when I'm voting and through the years. But I haven't been involved as deeply as I am right now. Mm-hmm. You know, laws and things like that. And I would just like a little more experience, like maybe starting off with a city council position or something a little lower on the totem pole there.
Mm-hmm.
Because a state house senate, you know, that's a lot of responsibility. That's a lot of information I feel like somebody needs to know. And I think there's better qualified people, although the people in my group think that I should go ahead and do it. For one, in Missouri, having a little age on you tends to fare well with you than to have one of the younger people that actually have more knowledge.
Mm-hmm. And you know, Deb, that's one of the misconceptions that people have out there. Let me tell you the reason why. Because when I ran, the guy that was in office had been there since the integration, and nobody had beat him. Nobody would run against him because everybody that ran against him had lost. When I became involved, it was because I was involved in, just civic duties and things like that. Knew nothing about politics other than my education. Some old ladies came to me and said, Baron, we really think that you would be good at running. And I kind of brushed it off. They said, well, even if you decide to run, we'll pay your fees, your qualifying fees. So I thought about it the last day, about 5 minutes before the deadline for qualifying. I went in and qualified, and it's been history ever since then. And again, I'm not trying to talk you in or out. I'm just saying that there are a lot of misconceptions that people have. Those people that's running for office, that's in office, they had absolutely no idea what they were getting into, just like Barack didn't know what he was getting into in the president's office. But you learn, it's like swimming. You learn on the individual day-to-day. So again, my goal is just to simply encourage you and hope that you will decide to do it. I've been on Aaron Hopkins talking about the same thing. We hope that Dave Lamont, because here's the problem. If we don't get us progressives involved in this political process, if Hillary Clinton does prevail, then what's going to happen is that she's going to continue to do the same thing that we've always done, and we're going to continue to get the same results. Go ahead, Deb.
I agree. We need to we've got to get people involved, and I still haven't walked away from the idea. I do have people that are willing to fundraise for me.
Mm-hmm.
We had a meeting this Saturday, and they were like, campaign, canvassing and things like that. We've got you covered.
Mm-hmm.
We can do fundraisers for things like that. So that's not quite the issue, but I've been talking to them about that, and I'm happy to hear what you have to say, because that does give me a lot more courage to actually take it even that step further. I'm working on a deadline now. If I do it, I'm going to have to apply this week.
Oh yeah, and I'll add this even. There's such thing as virtual assistants, along with myself. And Administrative Services Direct, and anybody that's affiliated with this, we will give you as much airtime as you need to run. We will try to do as much speech writing or ideals and goals. Nick is very good at research and things like that. Dave Lamont is very good, because see, our goal is just to simply make a difference. If you go back to the webpage, you'll see exactly what my goal has always been, and my goal has tried to incorporate our goal, which is increase the volume, allow other people to get involved and become motivated, and to engage them in the process, to inspire them in the process, and to encourage them. So you're not going to be in this alone, nor would Aaron Hopkins, should he decide to run. I know Dr. Riggins, Pastor Riggins, from one of my co-hosts on Glassology 101, he's thinking about running over in Houston, Texas. I hope Dave Lamont will consider this, because, see, we know if you look at Donald Trump's record, if you look at Hillary Clinton's record, if you look at there's going to be a blemish that's there. If you look in anybody's closet long enough, you're going to find some dirt. So my point is, don't let all of those indiscretions prevent you from running, because at the end of the day, when the smoke clear and the dust settle, people should not be judged. I want to bring Dave Lamont, Nikki, Aaron, and I want to bring everybody in. So just continue to talk about this voter suppression, because we need to make sure that people understand what it is and how this thing is affected. Because here we are. We have Deb on the line saying that she's discouraged. She thought about giving up. Nikki, have you ever experienced voter suppression? And if so, what did it do to you? I want to talk to Aaron. I want to talk to Dave. Let's go. We got about 30 more minutes left in the broadcast, so let's go with it. Nikki?
No, I've never experienced voter suppression. Well, Baron, I'm not born here.
Okay.
So, I think from where I'm born, there were two things that were regarded as a birthright.
Mm-hmm.
One, your passport, and your right to vote. I mean, just regarded as a birthright that couldn't be. I think in Britain you had to commit some kind of espionage to lose your right to vote. Some kind of crime against the state.
Mm-hmm.
So no, I haven't experienced that at all. But I love listening to Deb.
Exactly. And I'm glad.
I love listening to Deb, because I say it so often. The oppressor will never give it to you. The oppressed need to take it. That's like asking the Koch brothers to tax themselves. Really. I mean, I responded to someone like that. So why I do it? It's like asking it really is. Who is going to give up the power? And I think we're dealing with an old, sick, corrupt, deeply, deeply, deeply racist society.
Right.
I take heart, Deb. There's not only you're talking about moving, and the young people in Ohio. Young people, two organizations, particularly Black Lives Matter, Color Change, ousted a really corrupt prosecutor, state prosecutor. They did it again in. There's this kind of rumble and movement. Bernie is exciting the young. Hillary doesn't have rallies. Hillary gives talks. Probably like 3,000 to plate dinners. Bernie has rallies. His appeal is to the young. I think the young are fed up, know it's corrupt. I remember I have a 30-year-old son, and I remember when Clinton was in office, and my boy was about 13, 14. And he came in from school one day, and I was watching something on Clinton was speaking, okay, and it was just after the scandal. And my boy started to laugh. And what I realized it was my boy was laughing at the office of the President of the United States. You know, this office that was supposed to be so inviolate, so incredible. I mean, I think I think most people have reconciled themselves to the fact that it's corrupt. So I'm just going to live in it. I don't think that's the way it ever changes. And I just wanted to say to Aaron, this, I'm with you. I want to get to the underneath of things always, the causes and the conditions. And so you first have to ask that why should, particularly young inner city African Americans, why should I vote? But consider the alternative. Maybe that, go vote and ask the question later. You know,
right.
We're all going to sort ourselves out, but do it now and ask the question later.
Right.
Because if nothing is done, things will change. Things will stay the same. And I love the energizing that is going on. I love it. I think it's beginning to move things and rumble. I think what these politicians never figured was social media.
Okay, Nikki. Before let me, I'm gonna bring a caller in, but let me read this comment from Palm Springs, California, that says, "I think it is important for those of us who can vote to advocate and vote for leaders that have similar ideas about our voting laws. We need to speak out loud about these problems because we all need to have equal rights for all Americans. I think we can make a difference, but it may take some time. President Obama has made a change in the LBGT community, and this type of faction can carry on in our attempts to change how we look at all Americans. We are a great country, but we can be better." Caller 1756, come in.
Okay, thank you, Barry.
Go ahead.
To Nikki, I just want to say, and on behalf of myself and my family, and I thank you so much, for the blog and what you wrote for me today. I told Barry today, it's been a long time since I weep about anything, but I found the tears filling up in my eyes, because it's been so long since someone really truly felt my pain, and even cared about it. And I sit here and I listen to Nikki, Baron, Aaron. I listen to you guys right now speaking. And my rights have been taken from me for so long. Still, I feel so out of place right now. With you guys, I really don't have any input, so to speak, because I haven't had a voice for so long. And then here it goes, Baron gives me a chance, to voice my opinion. And I mean, what can I possibly say? I feel like, I'm mute. I don't know. It's just be in the midst of normal people with normal opinions and ideas and viewpoints. It seems so out of place with me. It seems so back of the norm. I'm still trying to integrate myself back in society where I feel, that I am equal to normal people because I don't be treated equal. I just want to, apologize for not having any input tonight, that may to help someone in some shape, form, or fashion. But I really do, really appreciate you guys, abundantly for everything. Baron, Nikki, Pop, Aaron, I appreciate you guys a lot. Thanks a million.
Yes, before, hold on, Nikki. Deb just wanted to speak to the caller. I'm going to take it to Deb, then I'll bring it right back to you, Nikki, because I want you to be able to respond. So, caller, if you don't mind, hold on. Go ahead, Deb.
Hi, caller. I'm Deb. You were talking about, I'm assuming that you had a situation in which you're not able to vote now and that you feel like you don't have a voice, but you're being involved now. The thing is, you're just calling in and you're talking to us, and you still have a voice. You may not be able to vote at this moment. We're working on that, but you still have a voice. You can organize people that can vote. You can get out there and talk to people, and you can put them right to the polls. You can, study up them. There's still ways of doing it until we can get your voter rights back. And part of it is just getting involved with the people in your community and around you.
Amen. Amen. And you see, Deb, how you are encouraging the caller. That was my goal earlier, to encourage you. That was Nikki's goal, to encourage you. That's Aaron's goal, to encourage you. And let me read this respondent. I love the fact that there is unity here. Each is willing to support and care for one another. I mean, it's a grand thing going on right now. Go ahead, Nikki, respond to the caller.
Deb said it. Deb said it. I just wanted to say, you feel like you don't have a voice, caller. You feel like you're not part of the conversation, but here you are. Yes, you are. You know, and by the very fact that you're calling in and you're here, you're in the conversation. You know, take that out with you. You are part of the conversation. You're not part of the problem. Part of the solution, you know?
And Nikki.
But Deb said it so eloquently, so my hat's off to you, Deb. That was wonderful.
Right, and see, and Deb even went a little bit deeper, because, see, even though I can't vote, okay, is what the caller may be saying, but here's what Deb is saying. Even though I can't vote, I can do whatever it is within my power to make sure that everybody that can vote, I can get them registered to vote. I can take them to vote, so I still can be a part of the process. Even if I can't hit you with my own fist, I'm gonna hit you with somebody else's fist. So you have to feel confident in yourself. And Deb just tried to do that. Nikki has tried to do that. I'm not sure if Aaron or Dave is still out there. I believe so. Aaron Hopkins, are you out there?
Absolutely.
Okay, Aaron, go ahead, reiterate in your own way and encourage this guy to continue to press forward.
Well, let me say it like this, because Nikki and Deb both did a splendid job in saying what we all actually think and feel. But the one thing I want to correct the caller on is saying that he doesn't have a voice and that he doesn't have any input. His input a couple of nights ago is, I think, actually is going to lead to and has led to a series of discussions that would not have taken place and research would not have been done if it were not for him and his situation. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, to be even more specific, when he mentioned his issue with his contract when he started his own business, I made some contacts. I have some friends that are involved in prison reform, and Barry, I'm going to get with you on this personally, but the very fact that he went through that particular situation, I don't think I slept well that night, and I'm sure I'm not alone. But man, it's one thing to have your rights taken away, and it's a whole different thing to have your manhood.
Amen.
Attempt to have your manhood taken away.
Amen.
So that in itself, my friend, is telling me not only do you have input, but you have input that everybody on this call, and probably listeners that may not say anything, but who understand what we're saying. Man, your input is way greater than I think most of us at this point even understand or acknowledge. And
he's not giving himself credit either. And that's where Nikki and Deb and some of the other hosts and co-hosts see, and that's what I'm saying. Once again, Sean Hannity, Chris Matthews, they want to do these things independently because they want everything focused on them. What I want to do is be able to sit back and let everybody else engage and talk, because I believe that when we help somebody else along the way, we pick up another blessing somewhere down the line. So if the lines were lit up to 250 callers, that would be fine and okay with me, because I can back off. But I like the fact that Deb has indicated that even though she has become frustrated, but she's not yet given up. Nikki has participated from day one. Aaron, you and I have been venturing for 3 years, here, there, but we always end up back at the same place. Dave Lamont, I just can't continue to stress the fact that I wish all of you guys would at least take the time to consider if Barron can do this for an hour or two, Why can't I do this for an hour or two? Because I have something to say, and I feel like I should be here. I'll never forget my English teacher told me that everybody has a story to tell. You just have to find those who are willing to listen. And I'm one of those who are willing to listen, to allow somebody else's ability to flourish. Because, see, the good book tells us that whatever you do it with the ability that God gave you. So Dave Lamont has not been active in a while. Let me see if Dave is still out there. Lamont, you still out there screen from the center?
I am, yes.
Go ahead, Dave. I don't like for you to be silent too long. Especially, I don't like for nobody to be out there because we got enough time for everybody to talk. Go ahead, Dave Lamont.
Well, so I want to go back and talk about what Deb was saying.
Mm-hmm.
I can empathize with her because I don't feel I'm the type of person in the position to run for an office.
Mm-hmm.
But I do have an alternate that I can present to people.
Exactly.
And almost everybody can qualify for it. You have to take over the party. So what you do is you call up your local party, and, if you're a Democrat, then that'd be the Democrat. And you ask them if your precinct has a precinct chairperson. That is a very key position. It's not one of those that gets out in front of a camera or anything like that. There's not a whole lot of scrutiny done on it. But what's important about that position is these are people who help pick who runs in primaries for local, state, and federal elections. These are people who set policy for the party. So one of the ways that you can affect the biggest change, and really all you have to do is go to 1, 2, or 3 meetings a month, usually at most. The term is usually about 2 years, and sometimes nobody volunteers for it. So get out there, become a precinct chairperson in your precinct, and make the changes that you want to. And that's what I did. I didn't feel I could run for an office, but I took up the mantle of that, and I'm trying to learn about the party. I'm trying to learn what I need to do and what I can do to affect change, and I'm going to do it.
Well, Dave, again, you always hit the nail on the head. Again, I think it's enough room, for everybody. Here's another response. You just said exactly what I was thinking. He, being the caller, has a voice here. Regardless of whether or not he can vote, he still has a voice and can express this. Caller 1756, I'm not sure. My pastor always says some of us need informing and others need to be reminded. We may need to remind you this often. And you can catch us anytime, day or night, and get this inspiration, because you must understand, not just you, but anybody else that's out there listening to this broadcast, nobody that's on this line has a selfish motive. None of us, we're not making any money doing this. Only thing we're doing is trying to allow people to understand that there are other people that's out there who are willing to tell the truth, tell it like it is, and try to get you to look at things from an honest approach. So, I'm getting all these messages. I'm trying to focus on that. I'm trying to talk. I'm trying to monitor the screen. Nikki, come on in and talk to us.
I was just, I'm Dave. I just love, I love that approach. I love the grassroots approach. But I want to touch on something else with our caller from the other night and what Aaron said. You sparked, I haven't slept either, you sparked a debate. Okay, and you have a story to tell, which that inspired me to write on. Your story is what inspired me to write on Darren's blog. Just the deep suffering. I think, and I've said this to Barron often. I think what sometimes gets lost, we throw out stats and we throw out numbers, and the actual physical, personal suffering, if the person gets lost, that's a story. That's a story to be shared. That's a story to be shared with someone else that's suffering. So two people can sit and say, hey, that's what happened to me too. That's how a movement starts. It's one person sharing their story and all its brutal details. But I agree with Aaron on what that story started. I want to get into prison reform. really get in because of that story and because of that very personal story. So
you there, Nikki?
I must be. I'm kind of.
Yeah. Hey, look. I'll tell you, things are moving. Now, Deb has indicated that she was thinking about running. She just put on the live link that I have just located my precinct. My district has a Republican running unopposed. What do you think about that, Nikki, Aaron, Dave Lamont? Okay, running unopposed.
An unopposed. I don't think there should be such a thing as an unopposed Republican.
Exactly.
It's giving him the office. It's handing it to him, and it's continuing more of the same. Get in there, girl.
Exactly. And here's another thing, Nikki, Dave, and Deb, and I would like you guys' cooperation on Thursday night. We're going to go it on and put Thursday night show out right now. Okay, Deb and Belinda, who is out there listening, that's our good Croatian friend, they are talking about we need to remove the convicted felon box from applications and things like that. Okay, Belinda says, I agree, Deb. Too many people are hurt by keeping the felony box on applications for work. Can we get enough of you guys to commit Thursday night, 8 o'clock? If you can, fine. If you can't, we'll run with some other topic. But see, I like to do things while the water is still running, while the blood is still flowing. These conversations here, man, I hope this brother is gaining strength to keep fighting for himself and his family. That's another response that's out there. What do you guys think about? Let's talk about the damages that is done to those who have paid their debts to society by keeping the felony conviction box on application. I don't know if that's the title. You guys talk to me. Deb, I'm going to send it to you first, then Nikki, I'll send it to you, and then we'll go from there.
Well, Baron, I personally think that it's specifically there to keep people right where they were to begin with. I mean, I think it's an oppressive move. I think it's to keep it's a continuation of punishment. And that's the only thing that it's for. I mean, that is a box that you will have to continue to check the rest of your life, no matter whether you can go out and get a PhD and anything else. But if you're going to sit in for something, you're going to have to check that box. And that's not right. It's like the voter suppression of people that have had felony convictions. It's not right, and it should be removed. People should have, once they've done their time, once they've paid their debt, they should have the ability to move on with their lives and move forward. And it's got to end.
Nikki?
John Legend has a petition circling for that. It's called Remove the Box. I signed it a while back. And it needs to be removed. It forbids a man to... It forbids a man to work. I live in a state where you couldn't go work in the 7-Eleven or the gas station. Okay, Nevada, because of the gambling. You cannot. Everything is a background check. Gas station, they run you a background check. A felon cannot work. Virtually cannot work in Nevada. Because that everything is a required background check. But what it not so it robs the man of his dignity. I love that line, a grown man's wages. Most men have families. It will break up a family. Children go hungry. I mean, the repercussions of that felony box they ripple right through a community. You first have the dignity of the man, then you have the inability to take care of the family. You have an inability for the father to step in and teach his children. I mean, the ripple of that is incredible. Yes, Baron. Yes.
Dave Lamont. Yes, sir. Go ahead, caller.
Yes. Okay.
Go ahead, caller.
I would like to share something with you guys. we was talking about employment, the other night. Well, I could say, I've been fortunate, to get a chance, to gain some employment through temp agency. All right. But then we get to the part, as you say, once again, we get to the part of the felony situation. All right, the company wanted to, take me on permanent. But after they find out about my felony conviction, they would rather give the temp agency $19 an hour, rather than hire me on, at $10, $12 an hour.
A damn shame.
That's, and the temp agency only wants to pay me, they get 19 for me, they want to only give me $8.
Right.
So I'm still, but, like I say, it goes back, to what Nick was just saying, strong man wages, my place out here in society. I'm going to keep pushing towards the mark. I know that it's coming, but, you guys are a great group of guys. Because when I say, I need to clear up something. When I say don't have a voice, what I mean is, Baron, it's not many like you guys. It's not. It's really not. It's not really. I mean, in this time today, it's not many people of any principles or morals about themselves or standards that society has set that would want to deal with me, a convicted felon on multiple, have had multiple convictions, felony convictions for drug deals. It's just not. And when you go trying to, help in campaigns and, get people to go do this, then you start having people, who are, even running for office, don't even want to be even in the forefront trying to help them get in office. It's just, it's crazy.
Well, I'll tell you, man, I don't know. We got about 5 minutes left. I'm going to let Aaron Hopkins close this thing out. We look forward to seeing everybody Thursday night that can participate. This is getting way out of hand with feelings, and it seems as if we're learning. Aaron Hopkins, I'm gonna let you close this thing out.
Thank you, Baron. To everything that's been said tonight, I think is going to have a long-lasting impact and effect moving forward. But something specific I want to say. I was sitting here and I was listening earlier when the gentleman was speaking, and now he just confirmed what I was kind of feeling. Anytime you're seeking employment and you know for a fact it's just a matter of time before one of these background checks comes back, and then the company is faced with a decision. But let me be clear about this, because one thing I think a lot of people take for granted, they can make a decision to hire you on permanent just in spite of felony. Let me make that very clear. So this has been, and you hear me say this quite often, this is why I'm such an advocate for black men in particular, but men and women in general, seeking and learning how to become business owners. Because at the point where you are under the scrutiny of somebody who does not know you, but they know you by what they see on that piece of paper, and once you've checked that box as a former felon, it's almost like all of the obstacles are now in front of you, and one by one you have to try to get over them. And while you're doing this, the very thing we've been talking about, you have a family that's depending on you to be what you want to be for them. So, man, I hope that you are getting from us, and not just from us, but there's listeners out there who are probably wanting, I know they're responding to Darren right now, but the one thing I want to make sure that you get from us is that not only do we feel where you're coming from, but man, we want to see you succeed, and anybody in your same situation. So what that means is all of us are going to have to get busy and make sure that there's always an alternative. We have to do the work of finding an alternative. You've shown that you have the skill to create your own business, and maybe that particular entity that came back and shortened the contract, maybe they'll learn a lesson, and maybe they may be punished in a way that we don't see coming down the line for treating that way. But man, hopefully everyone is sharing what I'm feeling right now. I want to see this young man and anyone in the same situation be able to walk like a man and be respected that he did what he was supposed to do, knowing that he did something wrong. I have not one time not heard this man own up to what he did. So he deserves the right to have any rights restored that should be restored.
Well, Nikki, we got about 3 minutes left. You want to dive in a little bit deeper from your conversation and close it out?
I just love to, Aaron. I just love to hear you speak. I was thinking as you were talking, that the companies that won't hire, but I was thinking there's good people out there, and maybe some drive on smaller businesses, to give someone a chance, I think what's happened that's just unforgivable has been the criminalization of the black man, and so not only is someone who walks in and now has to mark that felon box, he's almost judged before he walks in the door, and that's the deeper problem behind it. That's the really, really deeper problem behind all of it, after I heard the caller last week, I thought, I hire, I want the felons. No, I want the felons. And maybe some appeal to that type of thing. There are not too many, but there are good people out there, someone's got to give someone a chance, before we judge, we got to look from where we sit, and I think it's a morality problem as much as anything else,
Well, Nikki, I'll tell you, Aaron just messaged me. I don't hide the stuff. Aaron doesn't either. We all try to be as honest and open. For the caller who is out there, if he feels like he's not making an impact, Aaron and I have dealt with many topics. This guy just messaged me and said, man, I'm almost broken down. Or I almost broke down while I was talking. Nikki has expressed her words in her writing. Okay, Deb is expressing her stuff right out on the live chat. So you see, for those of us who believe, and I'm a believer, God moves in mysterious ways, and I know how to put things together, not because I'm so great. I just sit back and I pay attention. And see, you guys don't know, I've been trying to get your voices together so you can become a part of the process by allowing your voice to be heard even louder than mine. My goal is to start the fire. It's somebody else's job to keep the fire going. I know my limitations. I know the ability that God has given me because I enjoy doing what I'm doing. And I want to thank all of you guys for calling in tonight. You've been listening to the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass. Tonight's topic was voter suppression in 2016. We were joined by Mr. Dave Lamont from Screens from the Center, Miss Nikki Bedrick from Las Vegas, Nevada, Miss Deb from Missouri, Mr. Aaron Hopkins from Dallas, Texas. Look forward to seeing you on Thursday night, and I know this is going to be an awesome show. When you see the blog out there, share it. Invite some of your friends. Tell them to call in. Tell them to listen live or whatever the case may be. Because here's the thing. Excellent show. Thanks to everyone that was just sent to me. So people are out there listening, whether you believe it or not. Great show, and good night, everybody. Good night.